What's up, Fdgl? Fantasy Disc Golf League? This is the moment you've all been waiting for, draft grades. Let's fucking go. Okay, so I'm gonna start by showing you your combined average finish score for all of your starters based on the 2022 results, from worst to best. So starting with Jonathan Kraft's team, I had no idea how to calculate it because his players just weren't playing events, so I just put 3 question marks, so that's going to be last. Next up is Gill's team at 177.4. Keep in mind that this is 6 players' combined average finishes added together. So 177.4 comes in at almost 30th place per player. Granted, that number's fudged a little bit because he's starting a couple players that just didn't have stats on Statmando. Next, at 159.04 is going to be Andy's team. Seems like he took some chances on some players to have comeback years. We'll see how it works out for him. In 9th at 156.46 is Allen's team. In 8th at 140.46, we have James Anderson. In 7th at 139.87, we have Eli. 6th, right behind him at 138.09, we have James Old. In 5th, even closer at 137.75, we have Brian. In 4th at 131.42, there's Matt. In 3rd place with a score of 127.97 is Daniel. In 2nd place with a score of 120.58 is Keaton. And in 1st place with a cool 111.4 is me. So all of that is just true facts based on last year. Those are just the numbers. Now let's get into how I would rank all 12 of these teams. Why do you care? Well, you're watching the video, so I don't know. You tell me. So now we're going to look at all the individual rosters and break it down team by team. In 12th place, this should surprise no one because this team was almost entirely auto-drafted, is Jay Kraft. His first round pick looked pretty solid, started the draft with Calvin Heimberg, and then it all went downhill real quick. In 11th, we've got Gill's team. He started off well in the first round by grabbing Ricky Wysocki, but it looks like he's gonna miss Vegas. And we'll see how many more events he misses due to Lyme flare-ups in the future. For his MPO starters, he went old school. He's got Rick, Nate Sexton, Greg Barsby, and Paul Ulibarri. All of those players are pretty good, but they just don't collectively play enough events, I feel, to be competitive. He's going to need some outstanding performances from his bench spots over the course of the year. On the FPO side, he's got Sarah Cunningham and Sai Ananda. I'm not sure if either one of them are touring pros, so I think he's going to be behind the 8 ball a little bit regarding FPO. In 10th place, we've got James Anderson. I think he started the draft off really strong by grabbing Eagle McMahon. I was really hoping that he or Gannon Burr would fall to me at 11, but it was not meant to be. So he got Eagle, Andrew Marweed, Kale LaVisca, Andrew Presnell as his MPO starters. And again, the reason why I'm docking his team is because he just doesn't have enough starts in his MPO spots. Let's face it, Kale LaVisca is over 40. He's not a full-time touring pro, and he's not even playing in MPO anymore consistently. On the FPO side, he's got Haley King and Lisa Fakis, which could be solid, but there is an inherent amount of risk with Haley King because of her mental health struggles. She has not been playing in that many tournaments. But she does have some upside, and I think this team is significantly better than Gill's. There's definitely a tier break between those two teams. In 9th, we've got Matt's team. He's got AB, Isaac Robinson, Scott Withers, and Niklas Antila rounding out his MPO side, and Paige Pierce and Macy Veladiaz for FPO. I think this team actually has a lot of upside, but number of starts, again, is the concern here. So he's going to have a lot of work to do from his bench spots. In 8th, we have Daniel. The top of his MPO team looks really strong with Chris Dickerson, with Aaron Gossage, Mason Ford, and Jeremy Coling. I like Gossage and Ford a lot as players. I just don't think they're all that consistent, and Jeremy Coling is consistently outside the top 20. For FPO, he's got Henna Blomroos and Natalie Ryan as starters. He may look to change that as Natalie Ryan isn't eligible for Las Vegas due to the transgender rules, but with with Henna's putting woes, I'm just really concerned about his FPO side. In 7th, we got Andy. He's got Joel Freeman, Adam Hammis, Ben Calloway, and Cole Radallen in his MPO starter spots, with the Mondahano sisters rounding out his FPO spots. I think his team definitely has some upside, but outside of his top 2 MPO spots, I think he's going to have some real consistency issues, especially with Valerie Mondahano's bum ankle. I think she'll be fine over the course of the season, but I do think she's going to start slow. In 6th, we have James Old's team. He's got James Conrad, Kevin Jones, Bradley Williams, and Colton Montgomery for MPO, along with both Allens, Katrina Allen and Jennifer Allen on the FPO side. I think his FPO spots are a little bit stronger than his MPO spots, but I do want to give his team credit for the solid baseline level of play that you're going to get from all those players. In 5th, we have Allen's team, Corey Ellis, Nico LaCastro, Linus Carlson, and Luke Sampson on the MPO side, and then Missy Gannon and Ella Hansen for FPO. I think this is another point where there's a tier gap between Allen and James. I think Allen's got some good upside both in MPO and FPO, and yeah, it just seems solid. At number 4, we've got Brian's team. He started off the draft by taking the GOAT, Paul McBeth, and then he followed it up with Drew Gibson, Larry Lettinen, and Brody Smith on the MPO side, and his 2 FPO players are Evelina Salonen and Sarah Hokum. This team's a little bit scary in terms of upside because he's got multiple people who could take down tournaments. The question is, how many events is Paul McBeth going to play? And will Evelina Salonen fix her putting? It looked pretty awful at the All-Star event. At number 3, we've got Eli. He took the most dominant player in the draft at the 101 with Kristen Tatar, so he gets a lot of credit there, but she is not playing in Vegas. The rest of his team, Kyle Klein, Alden Harris, Gavin Rathbun, Gavin Babcock for MPO, and then Kat Murch and Maria Oliva in FPO. I think he's pretty strong throughout with significant upside in FPO. It wouldn't surprise me if he was taking single-digit numbers for his FPO spots each and every week. At number 2, we've got my team. Matty O, Ezra Aderhold, Vino Michaela, and Emerson Keith for MPO, and Owen Scoggins and Holland Hanley for FPO. I think this is a really well-balanced team. It doesn't have a ton of upside, but I think the collective floor for these players is just so high that it's going to be hard to beat over the course of the season. And finally, the number 1 team, Keaton. He started off the draft on fire, grabbing Ganna Burr and Simon Lizotte. Add to that Chris Clemens and Garrett Gerthy, and you've got by far the best group of MPO players. That's going to have to carry him as his FPO is much weaker with Emily Beach and Stacy Ronsley. But if he just finds one solid FPO contributor throughout the course of the season, this team is going to be scary every week. Now that we've got the draft ranks in, let's get to the week 1 projections for the Las Vegas Challenge. I'm going to say Jay Kraft gets the 0-11 record to start off the season. I don't think that's too much of a hot take. I think Gil will go 1-10. Matt will take 2-9. James Old goes 3-8. James Anderson 4-7. Daniel will go 5-6. Andy will go 6-5. Eli will go 7-4. I will go 8-3. Keaton goes 9-2. Brian 10-1. And Alan with the 11-0 perfect start to the season. Well, that's going to do it for me. I'll see you guys next week. Let's see how it plays out. Peace!